Welcome to this presentation. My name is Mr. Mohamed Eljaroshi. Today we're going to talk about Unit 5, Lesson 4, From Cairo to Tripoli. Question A. Read the text and look at the pictures. How long does it take for an article to get from a reporter in Cairo to a reader in Tripoli? Let's start with picture number 1. On Monday morning, an article is written in Cairo. Next, it is sent by email to a newspaper office in Tripoli. This takes less than a minute. When the article arrives, it is read by an editor. If the editor likes the article, it is edited and inserted into the newspaper. Then it is sent to the printing press, and at night the newspapers are printed. Early on Tuesday morning, the newspapers are sent to the shops. When the shops open, the newspapers are sold. Finally, the article is read. Now, let's answer the question. How long does it take for an article to get from a reporter in Cairo to a reader in Tripoli? What do you think the answer is? Very good. It takes 1 day. Good job. Now, let's move on to question B. Study the functional grammar box, then find more passive verbs in the text. Are there any active ones? Now, we're going to study it and then find the passive verbs and then find the active ones. In this box, we're talking about active and passive voice, emphasizing the object of a sentence. When we say what people and things do, we use active verb forms like write and send. When we say what happens to people and things, we use passive verb forms like is written and is sent. In active sentences, the subject performs the action. In passive sentences, the subject has an action done to it. To form the present passive, use the verb be plus past participle of a verb. Books are sold in our local library. Let's look at these examples. A reporter writes an article in Cairo. Writes here is not past participle. So, and this is the doer of the action. When the doer of the action is there, it means it's active. If you see the doer of the action in the verb in the sentence, it's an active sentence. Let's look at number 2. An article is written in Cairo. As you can see here, we can see the doer of the action. Who wrote the article? We can see in the sentence. This means it's passive. This is the difference between active and passive sentences. Let's look at this example. Next, she sends it to Tripoli. Who sends it? It's she. So we can see the doer of the action, so it's active. Let's look at this example. Next, it is sent to Tripoli. So we can't see who sent it, but it is sent. So if we can't see the doer of the action, it means it's passive. Notice we don't need to add by a reporter. Now, in the passive sentences, sometimes we use the word by, and sometimes we don't use them. Now, let's answer the question. We need passive verbs and active verbs. Now, I will put a line under the passive ones and a circle on the active ones. Let's start from the beginning. You can stop the video to answer this question and then come back and check. Now, let's check. In number 1, where is the verb here? Very good, written. Now, the word written is in the past participle, so it's in the passive form. Very good. So we will put a line here. Good. Now let's move on to the next one. It is sent. The same thing. We can't see the doer of the action. It means it's passive. Very good. This takes less than a minute. Very good. Now, as you can see, the verb takes is not past participle, but it's a verb, so it's an active one. So I'm gonna put a rectangle on it so you can see it's an active one. Okay, let's move on. Now, when the article arrives, it is read by an editor. Now, we have two verbs here. We have arrives and read. Now, the verb arrives, is it active or passive? Now, who arrives? Very good, the article. So that's an active form of a verb, and it's not a past participle, so we put a rectangle on it. And the verb read, it is read by an editor. Yes, we can see the word by here. That means that read is passive. Very good. The next one. If the editor likes the article, now who likes it? The editor. That means that like is an active form of a verb. Very good. Now, next one. It is edited. Now, who edits it? We can't see. So edited is a passive form. Good. And inserted, the same thing. Who inserts it? We don't know. Or we can see it in the sentence, so that means it's passive. Very good. Let's move on. Then it is sent, the same thing, because sent, we don't know who sends it. That makes it a passive form. To the printing press. And at night, the newspapers are printed. Same thing. They are printed, but we don't know who prints them. So that means it's passive. Early on Tuesday morning, the newspapers are sent. Same thing. We don't know who did it, so it's passive. When the shops open, the newspapers are sold. Same thing. Who sells them? We don't know, so it's passive. Finally, the article is read. We don't know who read them, who reads them. That makes it passive form. Very good. Very good. Now, question C. Now do exercises A to C on page 55 and 56 of the workbook. Let's move on to the workbook and check the questions. The workbook, Unit 5, Lesson 4, From Cairo to Tripoli. Question A. Use the present passive forms of these verbs to complete the sentences. Some are used more than once. Then check your answers on page 60 and 61 of your course book. Now, this is the same as this. What happens here from 1 till 8 is the same as in these questions. Now, you have to fill the gaps with the past participle of the verb, of these verbs, and then go back to the course book and check. You can stop the video and then do them and then come and check again. Now, let's check. Let's start with number 1. On Monday morning, an article, very good, is written in Cairo. Number 2, next, it, very good, is sent by email to a newspaper office in Tripoli. When the article arrives, it, very good, is read. Good job, by an editor. If the editor likes the article, it, very good, is edited and, very good, inserted into the newspaper. Then it, good job, is sent to the printing press. And at night, the newspapers, good job, are printed. Very good. Early on Tuesday morning, the newspapers, very good, are sent to the shops. When the shops open, the newspapers, good job, are sold. And finally, the article, good job, is read. As you can see here, sometimes we use is and sometimes we use are. What is the difference between them? Very good. Is for singular nouns, like an article. And are is for plural nouns, like newspapers. Focus on that. This is very important. Now let's move on to question B. Complete this table. As you can see here, we have a 3 columns table that has infinitive, past tense, and past participle. We have the past participle of a verb. We need the infinitive and the past tense. Very good. Now you can stop the video, answer this, and come back and check again. Now let's check. Catch, caught. Very good. Brought, so the infinitive is, very good, bring, brought, good job. Sold, so sell, sold, good job. Taken, take, took, taken, good job. Sent, so what's the answer? Send, sent, sent, good. Made, make, made, made, good. Written, write, very good. Wrote and written, good job. Washed, we have wash, washed, washed, good. Cooked, so we have in the infinitive, cook, good. Cooked, very good. Put, with put we use the same in the infinitive and in the past form. Very good. Now let's move on to the next question. Question C. Look at the pictures and describe how the fish get from the sea to the shops. Use the present passive forms of the verbs. Now we have pictures here. They will help you to describe what's happening. You have catch and put, bring to land. You can use them past participle form and make sentences to describe what's happening. You can stop the video, answer it, and then come back and check. Now let's check together. Number 1. Yes, first the fish are caught and put into boxes. Very good. Number 2, we have next. The boxes are brought to land. Very good. Now let's go to number 3. We have take, so we say then the fish are taken to a fish factory. Very good. Number 4, we have wash. So we'll say at the factory the fish are washed. Very good. And then we have cook. We say then they are cooked. Very good. And here we have put. We say after that the fish are put into cans. Very good. And the last picture, we say, we have the word send. We say, finally, the cans are sent to the supermarket. Very good. And this is how you make the passive voice of each verb. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.